How do you know if you're not doing enough exercise? There are so many guidelines out there about what you should be doing for your exercise, but how do you know if what you're doing isn't enough? This is exactly what we're exploring on this week's episode of the Exercise is Health podcast. We're going to cue our introduction and then we're going to dive right into this conversation. Hey, welcome back, exercisers, to the Exercise is Health podcast, brought to you by Exercise for Life Studios, where we believe that your health is your most valuable asset, and the single best thing that you can do to both boost and protect this asset is exercise, specifically exercise that's geared towards building the health and function of your muscles. We are your hosts, Charlie
and Julie,
and today we are discussing this idea of exercise dosage, and in particular, how do you know if you're not doing enough exercise? See, there are so many programs out there and so many recommendations of, just do something or, do these things and you will be getting enough. But is that actually true? Or are there things that you can tell within your own body that are very distinct signs that are saying, hey, you're not doing enough exercise for your body, for what your life is requiring of you? And so we want to explore this topic today so you have a clear understanding of how much exercise you need to be doing for your body and for what your life is requiring, and then you can start taking action on that.
Absolutely, Charlie. And the things we're going to talk about today, so many people will experience these, which to us, clear sign you're not exercising enough.
Mm-hmm.
But to them, it's always like, well, I think I need this new supplement, or I'm going to need to go see a new type of doctor, or I'm going to need to, whatever it is. And really it just comes down to like, hey, you're just not doing enough to keep your body strong.
Yep.
And all you need to do is to start exercising more.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to exercise, I don't know if it's like, everyone just wants to be motivational and yay for you and give you a high five, which we want to do that too. But we also want to make sure that you have the tools to know like, hey, I can be motivated and yay for me, I'm doing something, but maybe that something isn't enough. And always a lot of times when I bring this up, like, hey, maybe you're not doing enough, there's always this idea of like, well, at least I do something.
Yeah.
Well, isn't anything better than nothing? Yes, anything is better than nothing. And if you are exercising, great. I'm so glad you're exercising. But I also think that you deserve to know these signs that your body will tell you when it's not enough. So you're doing something, keep doing that something. But also always be listening to your body. Like, hey, am I having these things that are telling me that my body is not getting enough exercise, enough strengthening stimulus to maintain the lifestyle that I want to have? So we're going to talk about those reasons why or reasons why we know that you should start listening for if your body's telling you you're not exercising enough, because it is such a dosage thing, and sometimes we just have to up the dose.
Exactly. And as much as people disdain the idea of participation trophies, it seems like everybody wants a participation trophy for just doing something with exercise, but it doesn't work that way. So let's talk about what actually needs to happen, or rather what you may realize within your own body is like, oh, maybe I shouldn't just get that participation trophy. I actually need to up the dosage a little bit. All right. So the first thing that you may not be doing enough exercise is that you're experiencing pain within your body, either locally or systemically. Okay. Now, actually, I want to give a caveat to everything that we're about to say. Okay. And that caveat is some of these things may actually be an indication that you're doing too much exercise, all right? But the majority of people, that's not the case. And I say that right now because for my body, when I was 24 years old and I was in chronic pain and my shoulder was killing me and my back was super tight and everything within my body hurt, how I was exercising, I was doing too much of that version of exercise, right? Okay. And I was not doing enough of the version of exercise that I needed to be doing. So even in that case, I can maybe still say like, okay, well, I actually wasn't doing enough exercise. Not that like duration wise, I wasn't doing enough, but I wasn't doing enough of the right types of exercise. If you think about it from a nutrition perspective, it's like, okay, well, I'm eating food. Yeah, but are you eating the right types of food for your body? You might not be doing enough in that manner. So actually, I'm going to retract my caveat and say, if you're experiencing some kind of pain, you're not doing enough exercise, enough of the right type for your body. And that's going to be for the majority of cases, there are some medical conditions out there that's not going to apply to. That's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about the majority of cases, which if you're experiencing some kind of pain is likely where you fall.
That's right. And most people are not scientific anomalies. So you probably fall into this category. Most people, you get your muscles healthier and stronger, you will feel better. It's not going to solve all of life's problems, but your body will be better. And I love that you retracted your caveat, because as you were saying that, so Charlie used to exercise all the time, and it was very intense. It was not controlled. It was not any of the Exercise for Life principles that you guys all know, our 4 principles that we teach. It didn't fill any of that category. So if you were to ask 24-year-old Charlie, say, hey, do you exercise? You would have said, well, of course I exercise all the time. But it was not enough of the stuff that actually builds your body.
Yes.
Right? And so when we talk to people and they're like, well, I don't know why I'm experiencing knee pain. And I know it's frustrating because no one really talks about this, and they say, yes, of course I exercise. I walk 5 days a week. I play pickleball and I do, golf. Those are all like big activities.
Sure.
But none of them build your body. So you're doing not enough of building your body, meaning building your strength, building your joint function, building your muscle volume. That is what we're talking about here. So you can exercise and move a whole bunch, and you can still be too low on the exercise. You're not doing enough. So if you're experiencing joint pain, muscle pain, anything that you want to label as arthritis, or you even have a name for it, like, oh, it's because of my bulging disc, it's likely because also the muscles in those areas are losing strength and losing conditioning. So building back that muscle strength and conditioning into those areas, even if you have joint things. Most people have joint stuff going on, but everyone has muscles around everywhere that can provide more and more support and function.
Okay, so then the next sign that you're not doing enough is that you are physically becoming weaker. All right? And I'm going to say also not just like numbers wise in the gym, but in relation to what you want to do in your life, meaning the tasks that you are trying to do day in and day out, or the things that you're wanting to do, they are feeling more difficult than they once were. All right. And this can be a very clear sign that you are not exercising enough. So even if you're like, okay, yeah, but when I go to lift my weights, like I'm doing the same weights that I was. Yeah. But are the tasks in your life feeling as easy as they once did? And if they're not feeling as easy as they once did, then that is a sign that you are not exercising enough.
Absolutely. So Charlie, I just had this example come up in real life where one of my clients was explaining to me the things she does, in her daily life. And she's been experiencing this for a long time. So I said to her, it sounds like the things that you want to do physically are exceeding your strength level because it's breaking you down. Like you come in, you're feeling worse because you don't have the strength. She's like, yeah, it's really depressing. So I said, hey, well, why don't you think about starting to add in some strength training? That's the only thing that can help your strength is if you practice your strength, keeping your strength. And her response was, well, I do a lot more than all my other friends my age. And the first thing that came to my head was, I don't care. I only care about you. I care that you can do the things. Most people can't physically do the things they wish they could do. So I don't want you guys, our listeners, I don't want you to be like most people. I don't want you guys to be canceling ski trips or not being able to get on the floor with your grandkids because you're trying to be like most people. Don't compare yourself to other people. You guys are exceptional people learning about how to keep your bodies healthy. So if you notice that the requirements of your life, doesn't matter what your friends' lives are doing or that you exercise more than your friends already, but if you notice the requirements of your life is exceeding what your body can handle, that is a sign that you need to add in more strengthening exercises. It means the only way you're going to the only way you build strength is by practicing building strength and continue to build strength. And that's how it relates to real life. So again, always never compare to what the women's magazine said or the men's magazine says, like of this is how much you have to do to keep your strength. You can actually look at your own life, and if you feel like, hey, I'm getting weaker and I actually can't do the things that I want to be doing in my daily activity without being broken down, then that is a sign that for you, you're not doing enough to keep your strength. So use that piece as like, hey, if I can't physically do the stuff I want to do, I'm not going to accept that because most 70-year-olds can't and I'm 70.
Right.
Wait, if you want to do it, start working on it.
Exactly. And just to build off of that and relate it back to the point that we made about pain, if you are looking at your workout routine right now, you're like, but I lift weights 6 days a week. Does that mean I need to do 7 days a week? Does that mean I need to do 2-a-days or whatever? It's like, no, that may not actually be the case. It's unlikely that that's the case. What's actually far more likely is, again, how you're going about doing it, the type of exercise that you're doing. Are you doing the exercise to just simply use your body and check it off your to-do list? Or are you doing it with the very intentional approach of trying to build or rebuild your body, okay? And if it is the latter, if you have that intention, if you have that approach, are you hitting every single one of the 4 keys that need to be implemented with every single exercise that you do, every set, every rep, every single time you work out, okay? Because my guess is the answer to at least one of those is going to be no. And if at any point an answer to at least one of those is no, then it's like, okay, then you're not doing enough. Then there's room for improvement. And that's not to discredit what you are doing, but it's to say that if you truly want to be able to build or maintain your strength relative to what your life is asking of you, then you need to increase what you're doing as far as the volume of exercise that's building or rebuilding your body, as far as your consistency with using the 4 key principles that need to be implemented with every exercise, with every set, with every rep, okay? And once you can get all of those things in place, then it's almost a sure thing that the strength that your life is requiring of you, that's asking of you on a day-to-day basis, you will be able to build that, okay? But it requires that discipline, it requires that focus, it requires that consistency. And if you're lacking any of those, then we're saying, yeah, you're actually not doing enough exercise.
Charlie, when you're saying that, what I'm thinking in my head is like when people think about resistance training and they think, well, I have to moderate how much I do because, it's borderline injuring yourself. Like you just, if I'm in pain, I shouldn't do more resistance training because that's like more pain. If that idea comes to your head, then you're missing one of the principles. Mm-hmm. And that's why Charlie and I created the 4 Exercise for Life principles of what to do every single time you resistance train. Because when you follow those, then exercise is like the purest form of build your muscle and build your strength and build your function, rather than borderline injury going towards a fine line between pushing yourself to really build your strength and basically injuring yourself and being out of the game for a couple months while you recover. So that's actually why we made those principles. So here's a sign that you're not following fully the principles, is that if you think about exercise, you're like, well, I definitely shouldn't do more of that because that's what's going to make me more in pain or, more sore and weaker. That means that we need to reevaluate how you're exercising, because again, that's what we're talking about, is that you need more of this purely muscle building exercises into your life, not just random,
right.
I go on the tennis court and, get some movement and some random movement. It's the same. People can go to the gym and do random movement type things with resistance training. That is possible, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about strategic exercise that builds your muscle, builds your health and function.
Exactly. And just again, to kind of take it back to the example that I experienced within my own body, I remember the summer of 2012, my elbows hurt so bad that I couldn't hang on to my gym bag. Like I literally could not carry my gym bag. And yet, I could deadlift without using straps, nearly 500 pounds at that time, double overhand grip, which, if anybody knows anything about that would, from the outside looking in, be like, wow, your grip strength is really, really strong. But yet, I barely had enough strength in my hands to be able to carry my gym bag for any distance. And you wouldn't think, oh, well, it's because you weren't doing enough exercise, but I didn't have the strength to meet the requirements that my day was asking me. And so it's not that I wasn't being active enough, but I wasn't being specific and strategic enough. I wasn't doing enough of the exercise to build or rebuild my body. Instead, everything that I was doing was just using my body, which was depleting my body and breaking my body down, leaving me with a physique and a structure that would look like, oh, you're really strong and really athletic, and look, you can perform really well, and yet I could feel myself getting weaker, and yet I could feel myself in more and more pain, and yet I could feel myself, which is a third sign that you're not doing enough exercise, getting tighter and tighter and having less flexibility and less mobility. And so that leads us into this third step, is if you feel like your mobility is decreasing, like you're not as flexible as you once were, if your body is constantly tight, if you're not able to move the same ways you once were, then your dosage of doing exercise to build or rebuild your body is not enough. You're not doing enough exercise. It does not mean you need to do more stretching. It does not mean you need to do more mobility work. It means that either you're just flat out not being physically active enough, or if you are, what you are doing for physical activity is actually making you less flexible, is actually decreasing your flexibility. And so you can change how you're exercising, again, to do it in a way that builds or rebuilds your body, and you will see that your motion improves.
Now, all of these ones, pain, weakness, mobility, I think mobility is a big one too, is like we like to blame other stuff. And it all comes down to the same thing. You're just too weak. And I'm not saying that like in a negative way. It's like nice to know that, because it's like, great, I'll add in another day of resistance training. Or as you were saying, Charlie, sometimes it's not another day. It's just changing how you're doing it. Like, are you following the same principles so that every exercise builds your body? Now, you're allowed to have movement days where you're like, but you said tennis was movement, not building. I like tennis. Well, great, keep doing tennis. But you still have to have the building days. You still have to be meeting like your basic nutrition for building muscles, right? And, we like to blame a lot of stuff. Like, I'm not stretching enough. That's why I'm in pain. That's why I'm losing mobility. That's why I'm weak. I'm not, I'm overweight. I have too much fat on me. So that's why I'm in pain. That's why I'm losing mobility. That's why I'm not able to do the stuff I want in my life. No, it all boils down to you're just not strong enough. And the really good thing about knowing this is that we can take direct action on it. It's so easy to change. You just have to resistance train more, and you have to resistance train the right way. You have to do more of the right way stuff. So again, I'm not saying like if you exercise like how Charlie used to do 24, there's probably no room in his schedule for exercising more. But there was room in his schedule to change how he was exercising. And really, that's the one thing you did change.
Yep.
I mean, you actually exercise less now, and you feel better, you're stronger, you're more functional. But you changed more specifically how you exercise, and that is the key.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so how do you go about implementing this? How do you go about, okay, cool, like I'm realizing that I need to change how I'm exercising. I'm realizing that I need to increase my dosage of the right type of exercise. Well, how in the world do you do this? Well, actually, at the end of April, we're going to be kicking off our next One Workout Away Challenge, which we are calling Strategize to Maximize. And when you sign up for the Exercise for Life membership as a premium member, you will get access to that One Workout Away Challenge completely for free. So you get all of the live workouts that are included, as well as all the information and everything else that you'll be learning in this Strategize to Maximize One Workout Away Challenge, as well as everything else that is included within the Exercise for Life membership. And you will be getting specific guidance from us on what you should be doing for all of your workouts during the month of May, so you know without question that you will be getting in enough exercise and enough of the right kinds of exercise and how to do the exercise correctly. So all you have to do to get registered, not only for this upcoming One Workout Away Challenge, but for the remainder for the One Workout Away Challenges for the next year, as well as access to an entire Exercise for Life membership, is go to www.exerciseforlifestudios.com/membership. There are the two membership options, a monthly and the premium, but as a premium member, that is how you will be able to get access to the entire One Workout Away Challenge, the season pass for that, all of our live workouts and everything else that comes along with that. So again, it's www www.exerciseforlifestudios.com/membership.
So something really cool that we're going to do in the One Workout Away challenge, and so it actually starts on April 30th, so you have to sign up before then, so that you can get in on the group. But one thing that I'm really excited about is we have rolled out something called the Exercise for Life track. And what this is doing is we want to show you how to safely resistance train. Number one, we're going to review the principles of like the things you need to change, but then we're also going to show you how you can weight train at a minimum of 4 days a week. And most people don't do that most of the time because they're exercising incorrectly. So then it's just not possible for them to be recovered enough to exercise more frequently than that. But also most people don't think that 4 is possible because it seems like a lot of time. They're not sure what to do. And again, most people exercise in a way that's not making their body feel better. So they need multiple days off in between. So anyways, that's something I'm really excited about. I know a handful of our members have been pumped about that. They've been loving, we just rolled it out 2 months ago. We've had phenomenal feedback. But again, we want to show you that this is possible. We do it all the time. And when people hear about it, like, no, not possible. But you can be resistance training multiple times a week, more than you think you could before, but it's because we're changing the how. We're changing the principles that you're following. It's not about the reps. It's not about getting the weights up and down. It's not about just feeling some random burns or feeling sore afterwards. It's really about building your body, and that's what we're going to be teaching you. And it's going to be that 4 days a week that we're looking for people to do it. Again, it's not a forever long workout, but we're looking at that frequency, which I think is going to be really great if you're thinking, yeah, am I doing enough? Most people aren't. So join in. We're going to see you in the membership.
Exactly. All right. So who do you know that needs to hear this episode? Who do you know that feels like they have these things going on with their body, whether they're in pain, they're getting weaker, or they're losing flexibility, and they just feel like, I'm just getting old. There's nothing I can do about it because I'm already exercising. Share this episode with them so they can understand not only the dosage that's needed, but how to go about changing their exercise to make sure the dosage of the right type of exercise is within their schedule. And while you're online, head on over to Apple Podcasts and leave us a rating and review. It helps people find our podcast when they're looking for information on exercise and they're looking for information on health. So if you found value in this conversation today, let us know by leaving us that 5-star rating and review. Well, thanks so much for tuning in. We always appreciate it. Have a fantastic week, and we'll talk with you all next week. This podcast is for information purposes only. The statements and views on this podcast are not medical advice. This podcast, including Julie and Charlie Gates, disclaim responsibility for any possible adverse effects from the use of information contained herein. Opinions of guests are their own, and this podcast does not endorse or accept responsibility for statements made by guests. This podcast does not make any representations or warranties about guest qualifications or credibility. This podcast may contain paid endorsements or advertisements for products or services. Individuals on this podcast may have a direct or indirect financial interest in products or services referred to herein. If you think you have a medical issue, consult a licensed physician.